Yup, these are the 5 things that literally caused the gap in my 4D reality and my 3D reality and why I didn't manifest the $50,000 a month. Let's get into it. The first thing we have to look at that I was doing is the way in which I perceived what I wanted to manifest, aka my perception. My perception was so wrong. And so as you learn and as you get more comfortable and confident, and by the way, this turned me off from manifesting and creating my reality for quite a while. I mean, this really hurt me, which sucks, but it's because I wasn't doing things right. So my perception was completely wrong. And here's what my perception was, and this is what a lot of people do. My perception was, I was hoping and wishing for it to happen, right? I was like, I'm gonna send this out into the universe, and I'm gonna keep working hard, and I hope it happens. I wish for it to happen. Wrong. That is the worst thing you could possibly do to create your reality. Ever. So here was me, wrong way. I was wishing, I was hoping. What does that say? That says there's a gap, which is not how you create. So I was wishing, hoping, all of those things say I don't have it, right? Which is the whole fucking conundrum. Excuse my profanity. This means I don't have it. Which is entirely how you don't create. If you want to create your reality, it starts from present ownership. It starts from owning it in the I am, the infinite intelligence within you, your consciousness, because that is the way in which you create. I was breaking like the biggest rule. I was breaking the biggest rule of them all. What does this also say? This also means no faith in creation. Because if I did have faith in creation, I would just own it and say I have it. Do you see the massive disconnect here? And I see so many people wishing and hoping for things. They write them down, they visualize them, and they pray and they wish and they hope. That is such a weak state. That state is saying, I don't have it, I hope I have it. That's not how you create. It's not how you, those aren't the rules of the game. The rules are, you own it in present ownership because you're literally tapping into the infinite intelligence, which is your consciousness inside of you. And infinite intelligence, the origins of everything, creates in the I am instantaneously. So you have to do the same thing because you have that power in you. You are made in the image of God, which does as that does. And so we can't create in different ways. We can't have infinite intelligence create in the I am, and then we, because we're made in the image and likeness, create an entirely different wishy-washy way with zero faith. Massive disconnect. And so I was wishing, I was hoping, and so it was never going to happen. It was, as long as you do this, it's never going to happen. So the question becomes, how do we shift, right? How do we shift from wishing and hoping to truly, start writing this down in prosperous green, the right way, which is present ownership. In consciousness. That is the right way. Because what does this say? This says faith. And faith is the driver of all. Faith communicates through our consciousness that we have faith in the divine power. And when we do that, we receive. When we do that, it appears. If we don't do that, it does not appear. And so faith is king of all. And so we can actually, the better we understand how fundamental this is, the more it logically will make sense for you to have faith over fear. Because this was fear. This was just fear wrapped in gold, right? Because if you're wishing, you're fearful of it not happening. You have to have such a pristine, cleared out subconscious mind, pure snow white of faith. You can't have even an ounce of fear. And so we need to change our affirmations a little bit. We need to really understand things on a deeper level. We need to say things in present tense. We need to own it. We need to own it with faith. And I was doing none of that. And that's number one. maybe one of the biggest ones, but that is absolutely number one of why this shit was never gonna happen. And if you're doing it, switch. Present ownership. You have to understand how powerful you are. You have to understand that your consciousness literally created the universe. All of it. And it's inside of you right now. That is why you should have some damn faith. Okay? Number two, my standards were off. My minimum standards. So my nervous system was not attracting expansion. I was in scarcity. Minimum standard. And so basically what minimum standard means is I was avoiding uncomfortability and feelings of fear that were going to come with this new money because I wasn't handling it head on. And so what I was doing was I was unaware of my minimum standard that I'm used to in terms of income. We all have this baked in level of standard that we are playing into, right? The greats are constantly expanding that. For example, if you have a room and the AC is on 70 and it gets to 72, the AC is going to do everything it can to get it back to baseline. It's the same thing with your internal minimum standard. It's working subconsciously at your comfort level. And so when you're unaware, right? So in 2022, unaware of my minimum standard. And so why do we need to be aware of this? Because subconsciously and on a nervous system level, it's going to keep you at certain income barriers. This is when you can't break through. And you're doing everything you possibly can, but you haven't addressed this. Why though? Because when you expand your income, let's say you double it overnight, there's going to be things that come up for you naturally. And so if we don't handle what comes up for us naturally and clear that out, we're going to avoid it. We're going to stay in comfort because there's things that come up. And so let's break this down even further. You can do an exercise, expansion. You can do an exercise and you can visualize and imagine that right now, today, you make double what you're normally making in the month. What comes up for you? Typically, a lot of times, it's discomfort. It's fear over feeling worthy of the money. It's concerns or having fear around your ability to spend it, manage it, grow it, etc. There's weirdly a lot of subconscious shit that comes with making more money. Tons of, you can self-sabotage yourself, you can spend more, you can get lazier. All of this comes to the surface when it actually happens. And subconsciously, you already know that. And so, this triggers comfort to avoid subconscious fears. Right? The unworthiness, the bad behavior. All these things are so real if you're not aware of them. And so I was not, right? I never even looked at my minimum standard. I never even considered I had a minimum standard. I didn't even want to look at it. And so I was avoiding making more money, literally. My body was avoiding, and my mind was avoiding making more money. Hard to win that way, right? It's impossible. And so what we need to be aware of is we need to be in a constant state of expansion. When we think about our containers and our standards, I call them containers because you can visually make them bigger, there's going to be things that come up. Fears maybe in the heart center, right? When you're visualizing this, when you're journaling this, when you're writing this down, when you're being aware of it. And so fears are going to come up. Fears will arise. I'm not worthy, blah, 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 blah. And we need to wipe them out. We need to excavate them out. We need to dig deep on what is actually going on behind the scenes. Why is our AC at 70? And we need to purge them. We need to be consciously in expansion. We need to consciously be removing and clearing out all of this garbage that has programmed us to our standard today and who we are today. And so fears will arise and we need to reprogram. Constantly, consciously in expansion. Going into those fears, going into those subconscious barriers that are keeping us at this level, excavating, digging them out, rising up. I wasn't doing any of that. Number 3, one of the biggest ones, I was not giving. And this is a massive, fundamental rule of creating. I was not giving. That's a big problem, okay? That's such a big problem. Why though? One of the fundamental laws of creation is that everything has a cause and effect, right? Everything has a cause and effect. And we always get what we give. Either emotionally, telepathically, physically, with actual money. We always receive what we are emitting. And so if we're not giving, then we're receiving nothing. There's no flow. Currency, money, is a current. It flows for a reason. Let's draw that. I like this visual. Money is currency because it flows. And so if we don't have a flow of currency created by us, it's never going to come back because there's no flow. It has to flow and we have to give. It's a fundamental law. The more you give, the more you receive. I don't care if you have $10 to your name. Give away $1. Give away $1. You will receive. It's fundamental. I've actually had a very profound dream about this, and that's for another video. But the point is, it's massively important to give. And in 2022, I was not giving at all. I was hoarding. I was in scarcity. And this is a stress test of faith. And so, let's get some green. The premise of giving as well is you're stress testing faith. You're actually proving with action that you have faith. This is how you prove with action that you have faith beyond your affirmations. This is how you prove it. This is how you really show you have faith, and then you receive. Because if you really believe, and if you really know with 100% certainty and faith that, in this case, that I've made the 50,000, why am I not giving? And it goes for any manifestation, it goes for any amount, it goes for anything you want. Because if you truly know, and if you truly have it with complete belief, you would be giving. You would be more generous. Or at least you damn well should be. You'd be so thankful for all this money and abundance that giving just comes natural. And so, for us to truly embody present ownership, the I am that I speak about, the consciousness, to truly embody it, we have to embody it with our actions, not just our thoughts and our words. And our actions stress test our faith. They really prove the infinite intelligence we do have faith. We absolutely do. We know the money's mine, it's here, I'm giving, no doubt. But when we're not giving and we wish for things, we're in a complete disconnect because it's not how you would actually act if you had the money. And so it draws and it creates a massive disconnect. And it shows you don't have faith. Which is why it never happens. And so you have to stress test your faith and you show it with action. You must be giving at all times. And it goes beyond money. You can give your time, you can give your love, whatever it is, but it has to be there because we get what we receive. Number 4, my state sucked. My state was awful. My internal state was terrible. And so it had me vibrating at such a low level that it was you can't create a reality in that state. You can't create your reality in a state of survival and scarcity and worry and doubt. You're emitting that vibration. And so you're never going to match what you want when you're down here. If you want here, you have to vibrate here. If you're here, there's a gap. It's not going to work. And so my state was so negative, right? State was worry. It was doubt. It was anxiety. It was fear. It was all of these negative things. And yeah, running a business is hard, sure. So of course, there's things that can come up and you can justify and whatever. But does it help you or not? Is it how you should be vibrating or not? And so I was in all of these states about everything, production, marketing. I was so worried every day, I was so stressed. I was literally making myself sick at one point. And so my state was here, so low. It was in such, and by the way, it doesn't matter what's going on in your external world, we can control our state. Didn't know that. New information. But we can control our state. So if something is happening on the external world, we don't have to imagine it at all. At all. We can have a different story in our own mind. We can see things through a different lens. And so with this state, my frequency was so dog shit. Was terrible. And so if you want to, make this kind of, I'm done with the red. Red's not a bad color though. But if you want to kind of make this an example of yourself, let's say, you have your own business, let's say you're an entrepreneur, and let's say a deal falls through, a really big deal. I've had really big deals fall through, right? So, you're in this constant state of fear about the next deal, anxiety about when it's going to come, doubt that it's ever going to come, worry about what's going to happen next, right? And so that really affected your internal state. But the masters, if you really want to master creation, they do it the other way. The internal determines the external, not the external determines the internal. And if something does happen like that, that's okay. You have to know there's only one source, right? And a lot of people get caught up on why do bad things happen to good people? Why did this happen? Why did that happen to me, etc. Because I'm assuming you're a good person. You have to know something that's very fundamental. There is only one source. There's only one source, which is God. And so, by definition, everything is good. There's only one source of creation. This is undisputed, right? Even if we look at the evil and Satan and Lucifer and all these other things, that was created by the one source as a balancing act, necessary for society, for humanity. And so if you know there's only one source, why do you ever feel those negative emotions, ever? Because everything inherently is happening for your divine plan, at all times. At all times. But if you let it affect you, then you're going to get this more and more and more. Because the universe and creation is very unbiased, extremely unbiased. So if you feel these ways, it's going to give it to you. It's just the natural law. It's unbiased. What you emit, you receive. What you vibrate at, you receive. We have to know there's only one source. And so if we can maintain a state of faith, knowing this, right? Faith, love, courage, you can go on and on and on, and everything happens for you. And so things and environments start to change. And so you look at things differently. So you look at that deal falling through and you say, thank God. You say, thank God, there's something better coming. I was not supposed to get that for whatever reason. Having that level of faith in the infinite intelligence that you are on the divine plan is a magnet for what you want. It's a magnet for what you want. And I was doing everything wrong. So the power of this is this. There's only one source. No matter what happens, it's for your divine plan. That level of faith is going to raise your frequency and match what you want. Boom. Number 5. Number 5. I mean, there's probably so many, but I wanted the best ones for you guys. Cinco. I questioned everything. Which was my behavior showing a lack of faith, right? My state, everything was materializing into this massive wave of uncertainty because I questioned everything. I questioned the how, which is powerful. You never want to do that. And so I'm going to write this in red so you never forget it. Never ask how. Why? Why is that so important? And this is what I was doing a lot. Like literally, I was such a massive overthinker back then. Basically, every second of the day, I was like, "How's this gonna happen? How's this gonna happen? How's this gonna?" Like it was like it consumed me. I was an overthinker, and I thought to myself, I justified it, and I said, "Well, I'm smart, so I can predict things, and I can no, no." What this means is I had no faith. What this means is I had no faith, and I was in a complete state of fear about creation, about the divine within me. And so this is just another word for saying I have no faith. Really is. If you know something is yours, you would never ask how it happened or why. Ever. Right? Never. This says I have no faith, not sure it's gonna happen, I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm doubtful. Boom, our frequency's here when we need to be here. And so when we're stuck in the how and we're overthinking, I'm also gonna write overthinking because that's another really negative thing we don't want to do. Wow, my handwriting's so good. Overthinking, cross that shit out. We need to be in a state of faith. And so we can't be concerned with the how. Because the infinite divine plan is unfolding. It just is. Again, how does the Creator create? We're made in the image of that. We have that consciousness in us. Literally, as crazy as it sounds, how does that create? Present tense, I am. It's a silly question, but does the Creator, does infinite intelligence ever ask how it's going to do something? Come on. So why are we? We have the same source. We have the same source we must create in the same way. And so I questioned and overthought everything. And so when you're in a true state of faith, you never consider this. You just know it's done. You just know it's you. There's no separation. And so this also causes internal separation on a conscious level, and especially a subconscious level. And we need to be one. We create when we are one. And so we create when we are one. Actions, thoughts, beliefs. And so do you see how everything went wrong? Because I wasn't doing aligned action, wasn't aligned, or thoughts or beliefs. I was just saying things and writing things down, but I didn't really embody it. And I didn't really have faith, and I didn't really trust in the plan. Trust in how I create, trust in the power. So of course it didn't happen. Of course, right? And so the problem is a lot of people will do manifesting wrong. They'll use their consciousness wrong. They'll miss steps. They just don't have the right information. So they do things wrong one time, they never go back. And so that's it. They never open the book again. It's very possible you just did things the wrong way. It's very possible, because this is real. Our entire consciousness is here to help us create, help us to do things how we want to do them. It's unbiased. Whatever we give, we're going to get. Whatever laws we practice and follow, we're going to receive. So I implore you to keep looking for more information, to keep practicing with more faith, with more I am, so that you don't make the same mistakes I did 2.5 years ago that caused me to be so disappointed, not look at manifesting for probably months, I don't remember, and prolonged my journey. When you have the right information, you can create anything you want.